Greetings everyone. I am Dayanand H. Gangadhar, HOD VFX Department, Animaster College. It's been my privilege and honor to be a part of IASF's technical team and also to be a part of this beautiful and wonderful session. I had a vision, always says, never wait for the right moment to say, but always make your time to be the right moment. In this auspicious occasion, I would love to introduce our chairperson, Ms. Sarita, who is working in the Department of Communication and Journalism, Bangalore City University. Ms. Sarita is a film academician and screenwriter who is postgraduate and gold medalist in mass communication and journalism. She has been working and guiding diversely in film academia, advertisements and print media. As there is a saying, shelf without a book, brain without a knowledge is always useless. I welcome our presenters for the session. Dr. Sami Ahmad Khan, who is a writer, researcher, teacher, translator, editor for science fiction, and the list continues. He is a recipient of Fulbright grant for the University of Iowa, USA, where he studied science fiction and creative writing and holds a PhD in science fiction from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. His debut future war thriller Red Jihad won 2 awards, and his second novel Aliens in Delhi displayed in 5th China Science Fiction Convention. He holds knowledge and thought at IIT Delhi and supervises MPhil and PhD research on science fiction. His research paper on science fiction and his science fiction stories have appeared in leading journals and anthology across the world, and his critical work has been translated into Czech. His next in monograph on India's Anglophonic science fiction, which is currently with the University Press. He is presenting paper on First Contact 2070 AD, Mythology and Mankind in the Bollywood science fiction films. Our next presenter is Sohini Chakraborty. He is in the Department of English, University of Kalyani, Kolkata, presenting a paper on Bollywood and science fiction, the framing of Bollywood superheroes genre. In line to the Sohini Chakraborty, we have Gayatri G and Vaishali B, who are students from Shishar. In line to Sohini Chakraborty, we have Gayatri G and Vaishali B, who are students from Sharda College of Women's, Salem, Tamil Nadu. They are presenting the paper on the technology of living immortals based on the movie Mayavan. Following that, we have Mitkari B, research student pursuing PhD at Aurangabad. She is presenting a paper on science fiction film Pandemic 2016 correlated to the present scenario, a pandemic COVID-19. Next, we have Inia JC, student at Bangalore University, pursuing her first year MA in English Literature, presenting her paper on Black Panther movie African Diaspora through Technoculture and Science Fiction. Next, our presenter is Ms. Sridevi T, is a research scholar in the Department of Communication, Bangalore University. She is a full-time research scholar under the guidance of Professor B.K. Ravi in Bangalore University, where she is also engaged in teaching. She was honored as Cream of GCC Award Conference by His Excellency Dr. Joseph V.G. in the year 2016. Won second prize for the short film Reflection at Carte Blanche Intercollegiate National Level Film Festival 2015. With a passion on Indian cinema, as an intern in Deccan Herald, she published several articles based on the slice of Bangalore. She is presenting a paper on women depiction in Padmarajan's film Meera in November in Ashtam and Maya in Inale. I welcome you all, and I also heartily welcome to all our viewers. Enjoy the session. Thank you.
Time isn't always linear. Built on a bulwark of scientific advancement, 2070 is a metaphor for the future. It is an extrapolation from the past, which by itself is reinforced by mythology within an Indian context. While genre science fiction fuses the epistemological frameworks of science and fiction, Bollywood, one of the largest film industries in the world, goes even further and links science fiction with the faith and divine. The second task of SF writers as mythmakers is simply the custodial work of keeping the inherited body of myths alive. Indian science fiction writers excel at keeping myths alive. To cite just 2 examples, Mainakdhar furthers the ancient astronaut hypothesis vis-a-vis gods in Vimana, and Jayan Narlikar refers to the invasion of Indra in the Ice Age Cometh. This paper approaches select films to explore how first contact between humans and aliens is shaped by India's mythological antecedents. I traveled back in time to our present 2010s from the future, that is 2070, and choose one contemporary film. Then I again travel back in time 50 years, this time to the 1960s, to locate one more Bollywood film with aliens in it. My objective is to study how these aliens of the past and the present appear within select cinematic narratives and how these projections reflect mythology. In this table, you have the year 1960s, 2010s, and 2070s. You have the temporal location, past, present, and future. You have a text as an example. You have the idea of the topoi of science fiction, in this case, aliens, whether they are hostile or friendly. And one more example, just as a watching list, in case you're interested. So now I move straight to my first text, which is a film, a contemporary film, Joker. This is a 2012 film in which an Indian space scientist hopes to draw attention to his forgotten village by creating crop circles around it. He spreads fake rumors of alien visitations to ensure government focuses on rural development. The deception is ultimately caught, and the villagers face an even more uncertain future. A villager prays for deliverance and accidentally activates the communication device of Agastya in a temple, following which an actual UFO lands in Paglapur, the name of the village, and the alien gives them the gift of oil before leaving. Now, Stephen R.L. Clark argues that the goal of science fiction writers is to provide a sort of a scientific rationale for what would otherwise be merely fantasy. Gods and demons alike turn out to be no more than alien intelligences, using a more advanced technology indistinguishable from magic. The film celebrates the ambiguity of the god-alien relationship in the Indian popular imagination by portraying an ET race that itself borrows heavily from symbolism of Hindu mythology in their advanced technology and UFOs. The next text I discuss is Chand Pe Chadai. This is a film from 1960s, 1967 to be precise, because I have now traveled back another 50 years in the past. This film follows an Indian astronaut and his sidekick who are abducted by lunar forces moments before they are to blast off. Once on the moon, Captain Anand, played by the iconic Dara Singh, fights lunar wrestlers, space gorillas, robots, and warlords, and ultimately rescues the moon from the clutches of the Martian invader Barahatu. In the process, he also wins over the princess of the moon and saves his mother and sister from the Martians in the classic Indian Bollywood tradition. Now, arguing in the context of the Kaurav Empire trilogy, a series of graphic novels that reinterpret the Mahabharata from a science fiction perspective, Philip Ludgendorff opines that these novels represent the colonization of the Indian imagination by a new aesthetic hegemon, a truly globalized visual and narrative regime that permeates popular storytelling and that is perhaps most at home on the internet. Now, while Chand Pe Chadai is located in pre-internet days, it bears the seeds of the same glorification of what Ludgendorff calls the hyperbolic musculature, militaristic machismo, techno-weaponry capable of unleashing apocalyptic violence, and the angst-ridden, usually male characters who wield it. This film also, Dara Singh has to rely on brute force, on the sheer brute force, to assert his will over the aliens. In religion and science fiction, Farah Mendelssohn opines that in a genre dedicated to world building, recognizes the significance of faith has proven crucial in generating the critical density of the full science fiction text. If we frame these aliens within the context of gods, humans, and extraterrestrials in India over the past 60 years, some very interesting correspondences emerge. Chand Pe Chadai 1967 has all the elements of science fiction. It has a moon rocket, it has aliens, it has food replicators, it has nourishment pills, it has a Martian warlord, it has space monsters, nuclear weapons, jetpacks, robots, UFOs, even electric swords. Well, almost 10 years before the lightsabers of Star Wars. But it also has mythological elements. It has a very elaborate puja scene. It also has discussions on where God lies, whether on the earth or the moon or the heavens or the stars or within human beings themselves. And there is a correspondence between science fiction and mythology. There's a certain fusion between the mythological elements and the SF elements and topoi. For example, Anand constantly seeks the blessings of Bhagwan to do the right thing.
भगवान करे मैं इन उम्मीदों को पूरा कर सकूं।
He fuses his competence, his skill, with faith in God to achieve his objectives, which he's successful in doing, by the way. The next film is Joker 2012. Again, all the semantic elements of science fiction are present here. It has communication devices meant for first contact, it has a UFO, it has crop circles, it has aliens, it even has a lightsaber, right? A toy lightsaber. It also has a White House press conference about the alien threat, and of course, it has the Indian military mobilizing for a counterattack. But at the same time, it also has mythology. It has a village temple, and prayers are answered in that village temple because it is not just the science of Agastya that saves the day. Ultimately, it's the prayers of the village idiot that save the day. We have the UFO shaped like a Shivlinga. We have the communication device placed inside a temple and prayed to as a temple deity. And of course, we realize that the language of the village idiot, who nobody was able to understand, was actually an alien tongue, and it was using that alien tongue that aliens finally came to Earth. As Anil Menon writes, we seem to have had a speculative fiction tradition that is remarkably postmodern in temperament. There's a deep belief in the power of language to transcend reality, a belief in the irrelevancy of material facts. This odd inability to separate religious thinking from science is one of the legacies of the idealistic worldview. As I argue for a hypothesis in a forthcoming monograph, Indian science fiction operates under a PTM hypothesis. It fuses politics, technology, and mythology. So, whatever SF text you may read, it's a distinct possibility that it would somehow respond to its immediate material realities of production, its own politics. It would also talk about the technology that makes that SF possible and how technology impacts the human beings. And of course, it talks about mythology because somewhere, somehow, either the narrative or the semantic elements or the syntax in which it's placed would be shaped, if not driven, by Indian mythology or mythology in general. That is why I say that despite both these films featuring semantic elements usually associated with science fiction, aliens, future, UFOs, the syntax they generate creates its own operating mechanics. So here, science and technology and mythology, of future and the past, of aliens and gods, come together and fuse rather than operating in a binary opposition. The films demonstrate how the semantic elements of the alien is appropriated by science fiction and arranged in a syntax that constructs a hybrid science fiction that reifies a future in which mythology, past, gods, and SF future aliens not only coexist but also intertwine. After all, God did not just create human beings, He also created aliens. Thank you very much. Open for questions now.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great honor for me to be able to present my paper before you all. This paper would attempt to probe into the trajectory of Bollywood science fiction films, which is commonly known as Bollywood superhero films. I've titled this paper as Bollywood and Science Fiction Framing a Bollywood Superhero Genre. Now, let's have a brief overview of what is meant by Bollywood science fiction as a genre and Bollywood science fiction superhero film. In brief, Bollywood could be defined as to name a few. Unfortunately, out of all the genres explored by Bollywood, science fiction remains the most unexplored one. Science fiction as a genre, on one hand, has been successful in enticing the minds of the readers, largely due to the themes it deals in. Similarly, on the other hand, it has witnessed enough argument over its boundaries until a proper definition was framed. The debate, in a way, came to a rest with the framing of a proper definition by eminent science fiction critic like Darko Subin. It goes like, quote unquote, a literary genre or verbal construct whose necessary and sufficient condition are the presence and interaction of estrangement and cognition, and whose main device is an imaginative framework alternative to the author's empirical environment. So, we could understand science fiction as a work of fiction which inherits the capability to make us aware of what our possible future might be with the use of technology and science acting as a dominant motive throughout the work, which is in a way a cultural production. The major facet which it includes are the depiction of probable future dystopic or utopic world with usage of scientific tropes like the cyborg, androids, humanoids, or voyages beyond the sky or to the occult settlements and alien invasion. Hence, Bollywood science fiction or like superhero films could be defined as films dealing with at least one of the above mentioned themes, where the scientific trope in disguise of a superhero comes to the rescue. Despite it being the most unexplored genre, Bollywood has also been intrigued with the particular genre, leading to the production of film Char Par Tarai, which dates back to the year 1967. In dealing with this genre, Bollywood undoubtedly has been influenced by Hollywood sci-fi, socio-political conditions prevailing, the audience, and other Indian regional science fiction films. Paper would hence attempt to probe into the trajectory of Bollywood science fiction superhero films, which has experienced a drift pertaining to its subject selection and also the way it is dealt with from the beginning of its journey till the present times, besides identifying the reason responsible for such drift. It would further attempt to analyze the reason why Bollywood science fiction superhero films, despite drawing influence from its Hollywood counterpart, retains its uniqueness. Identify the shift in terms of selection of the subject of the themes. If we consider the first Bollywood science fiction superhero film, Chak Par Charai, it's a movie depicting an off-world travel into the moon. Where the astronaut of the superhero is subjected to a face-off with monsters and the warriors of another planet. Again, in the case of the movie Ella, a 1971 film, it portrays the escape of the superhero by going invisible using his atomic ring gifted to him by one of the scientist's acquaintance in search for a utopic world. The currently movies like Robot, which is released in the year 2010, the 2011 movie Rama, and the other movies like Bridge 3 all depicts a dystopic world. In case of the movie Robot and Rama, the dystopia is brought forth by the advancement of technology which has led to the production of cyborgs, a cybernetic organism which is a human life. In case of the above films, it is named as Chitti and G1 respectively. Cases, enhanced reliance on the use of technology has led to such dystopia. In relation to the Krish series, the final sequel, Krish 3, depicts the kind of situation we are currently witnessing due to the pandemic. The scientific trope, or the cyborg, in disguise of a superhero named Krish, himself manages to procure and distribute the antidote needed to save the human beings from their misery. Undoubtedly, in both the scenarios, the boundary between the real and the artificial is erased, as had been predicted long back by the eminent post-human critic Donna Haraway in her work, The Cyborg Manifesto. The Hollywood science fiction movies have also portrayed a similar shift. The 1902 movie A Trip to the Moon was just a space opera, while the 1982 movie The Blade Runner depicted a dystopic world invaded by the replicants who are the cyborgs. A similar dystopic society burdened with the present pandemic condition has also been portrayed in the 2011 movie Contagion. So hence we could understand how the shift has happened. Undoubtedly, the socio-political aspect has played the dominant role towards the observed shift in both Bollywood and Hollywood science fiction films. The successful voyages beyond the sky in the year 1961 had led to the rise in eagerness, in turn increasing the science fiction readership and enhanced production, circulation, and consumption of science fiction works. The occurrence of two deadly world wars and the invention and use of nuclear weapons in the Second World War has been the dominant reason behind the depiction of dystopic and not the utopic world Moore had imagined. But science fiction movies have also been impacted by such historic events. Moreover, the audience in both the instances have played a major role. Since there is a financial aspect associated with both the industries, and it is the audience that could make or break a film. Both the industries are in a way dependent on what the audience would wish to watch. On one hand, the themes of science fiction have been the reason for its popularity. Again, on the other hand, the tendency of the audience to embrace the pop culture in order to maintain the social standing have also contributed towards its growth. It has now been able to establish itself as a consumer culture. The Hollywood movies have also influenced the Indian audiences, which in turn made the Bollywood follow the trend, though not by blind imitation. The point of departure, as noticed between Bollywood science fiction superhero films and its Hollywood predecessors, could be observed if we look into the following traits. Indianness depicted in Bollywood films through the use of ethnic association, like the depiction of Indian traditions and stylistic it uses, is something that makes it stand out from its Hollywood predecessors. For instance, if we take up the example of the Hollywood science fiction movie Blade Runner and observe the cultural markers represented by the characters in the film, and especially the replicant Rachel, you would notice that she is dressed in a formal blazer skirt set with neatly parted hair and black pumps to go with it. that the deadly world wars and the use of nuclear weapons have been the most predominant reason behind the shift from the depiction of utopic to the dystopic world. The consumer culture has also created a space for the audience's inclination towards movies portraying a dystopic world and not towards normal space operas. The affinity of the audiences have also contributed towards such shift. Despite Bollywood movies drawing its inspiration from the Hollywood counterpart, the depiction of the Indianness and the Indian traditions that are depicted in the movies is what makes it more relatable. This is what makes it a unique identity and not merely a replication of its Hollywood counterpart. And with this conclusion, I end my presentation. Thank you so much.
A wonderful day to all. I am B. Vaishali and I am going to present on the topic The Technology of Living Immortal based on the Tamil movie Maayavan. Science and technology were created by humans to make their life comfortable. What if science and technology have the power to win the rule of nature? We know that a human have a particular span of life on the earth. What if a human can live for 1,000 years or more than that? This technology is not possible in a real life, but can be possible in a fictional life. The movie Mayavan is based on this concept where a person could live for more than 1,000 years. Science fiction is a genre of speculative fiction that typically deals with imaginative and futuristic concepts such as advanced science and technology, space exploration, time travel, parallel universes, extraterrestrial life. It has been called the literature of ideas and often explores the potential consequences of scientific, social, and technological innovation. Science fiction is related to fantasy, horror, and superhero fiction and contains many subgenres. Its exact definition has long been disputed among authors, critics, scholars, and readers. Science fiction can be defined as that branch of literature which deals with the reaction of human beings to changes in science and technology, said Isaac Asimov, American writer and professor of biochemistry. In the 18th century, development of the novel as a literary form, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and The Last Man helped define the form of science fiction novel. The first recorded science fiction film in 1902 is A Trip to the Moon, directed by French filmmaker Georges Méliès. Now let us see the story of the movie. The movie revolves around a chain of murder taking place in Chennai. This case is investigated by a police officer Kumaran, who himself is a victim of a murder which makes him psychologically affected. A peculiar thing about this chain of murder is that the murderer would die either by himself committing suicide or be killed accidentally when he is about to get captured. The mystery is unveiled when the police capture one of those murderers, Rudran, who leads to a scientist named Dr. Pramod, who died before the start of these murders. Dr. Pramod is a famous scientist in neuroscience and nanotechnology. One of his colleagues and Dr. Pramod's friend tells about the research conducted by Dr. Pramod. A person's identity in the society is his name and his memories. The memories stored in the millions of brain cells called neurons. All these neurons remain a network and function together. If a person's memory is copied in a database, then it is equal to taking a copy of that person technically. This can be done with the help of nanochips that can be instilled into the brain. These nanochips would fix itself on each and every neuron and transmit the memory stored in that neuron in the form of electronic waves through wireless transmission. The experiment was first done on rat's brain, since rat brain is similar to human brain in function. For this research purpose, a special lab was constructed for Dr. Pramod with advanced machines and computer system. The nanochips in the form of serum were injected into the rat brain and data transmission took place successfully. Hence, the research succeeded in the first step. But human brain is much more complex than that of a rat brain. If the process failed, then it would result to the brain dead or even the death of that person. Finally, Dr. Pramod himself injected the serum into his brain. The nanochips enter into the brain and get fixed on each and every neuron. Then the transmission took place. The data collected from his brain were copied in a database. The research came out successfully. Then the research is taken to the next step. The data stored in the hard disk should be copied to another brain. This follows the same steps. The injection of the serum and the nanochips get fixed to the neuron. Here, the first person is Dr. Pramod and his memories are stored in the hard disk. Then the second person is selected and the serum is injected. The next step is that the memories in the second person's brain are deleted and then the memories of Dr. Pramod would be restored in the second person's brain. This process would take place automatically when the first person, that is Dr. Pramod, is dead. The nanochips in Dr. Pramod's brain would send the signal to the lab and further to the nanochips in the second person's brain. Then the process of deleting and restoring takes place. This is technically the death of the second person and the rebirth of Dr. Pramod. Nanotechnology. American physicist Richard Feynman is the father of nanotechnology. Modern nanotechnology truly began in 1981 when the scanning tunneling microscope allowed scientists and engineers to see and manipulate individual atoms. Nanotechnology is being used in developing countries to help treat disease and prevent health issues. Chintamani Nagesha Ramachandra Rao, FRS, also known as C.N.R. Rao, is an Indian chemist who has worked mainly in solid state and structural chemistry. Some latest innovation in nanotechnology. Scientists developed nanobubble water in Japan. The National Institution of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology, AIST, and REO developed the world's first nanobubble water technology that allows both freshwater fish and saltwater fish to live in the same water. How to view nanoscale objects? The scanning tunneling microscope is widely used in both industrial and fundamental research to obtain atomic scale nanoscale images of metal surfaces. Nanosensor probe. This nanosensor of high selectivity and sensitivity was developed by a research group led by Tuan Wo Jin and his co-workers Guy Griffin and Brian Cullum. Nano engineers invent new biomaterials. Catherine Hockmer of UC Santiago reports that a new biomaterial designed for repairing damaged human tissues doesn't wrinkle when it is stretched. The invention of nano engineers at the University of California, Santiago marks a significant breakthrough in tissue engineering because it more closely mimics the properties of native human tissues. Nanobiotechnology consists of nanomedicine, DNA nanotechnology, lipid nanotechnology, agriculture, nanobiomechanics. Conclusion. Technology have both its merits and demerits. Based on this movie, Living Immortal results in the killing of innocent people. If this technology does exist, will it be a boom or ban? Thank you.
Hello everybody, I am Midkari Smritanjali, going to be present my paper on science fiction film Pandemic, correlated to the present scenario, a pandemic COVID-19. 13 January 2020, the coronavirus infection is stated a public health emergency of international concern, and the World Health Organization is announced the name for the new coronavirus infection. COVID-19 on 11 February 2020, who in 11th March 2020 is also declared this coronavirus disease is a pandemic. The major symptoms of COVID-19 are respiratory illness, fever, cough, shortness of breathing, chill, sore throats, muscle pains, etc. The people above 55 age and those with fundamental clinical issues like diabetes, respiratory sickness, and malignant growth are bound to create genuine element. Filmmakers have made various films on pandemic and viruses that threaten to destroy humanity. The top films most discussed today are Hollywood's Pandemic. The SARS, Ebola, and new Zika are flare-ups of new popular sickness have gotten particularly typically. However, obvious worldwide plagues stay uncommon for the present in any case. Hence, present study includes the SF film Pandemic, correlated to the present scenario, namely COVID. Pandemic is a 2016 American SF spy chill movie directed by John Suits and written by Dustin T. Benson. Rachel Nicholas stars as a specialist who drives a gathering to discover overcomers of an overall pandemic. The movie Pandemic opens with Dr. Chase being given a tour of the facility that's being used to display, treat, and euthanize victims of the diseases. She is taken through the multi-level patients holding cells and added into a team of Swiss who search for fighters. Chase is promised a cure should she become infested and is told not to inform her team if she becomes infected. They immediately set out towards a school whispered to have around 89 plague survivors. The film Pandemic shows that after an infection of immeasurable scope overpowers the planet with more tainted than uninfected. The humankind is losing its holds on endurance and its solitary expectations is finding a fix and keeping the contaminated contained. Luren, a specialist who shows up in Los Angeles with her break group to lead the chase for uncontaminated non-military personnel survivals. However, nothing can set them up for the bloodshed slapshot discovered they observe as they head into the California roads where everything is viewed as a snare. The present SF film Pandemic with influences to the current coronavirus, how producers of 2016 film Pandemic forecast COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic and gave the film enduring reverberation. Pandemic proves serviceably frightening, if sporadically gory, maximing tensions derived from unknown dangers as compared to COVID-19, the present situation. The struggling of corona warriors against the COVID-19 through the different ways in the world. The pandemic, an infection that causes cerebrum draining and first upheavals, has cleared out 2.5 billion individuals. A group comprising of a specialist, a guide, a driver, and a heavy armaments specialist deserted and generally security of headquarters. Through an excited rug of the trented external the door set for separate uninfected survivors caught inside a midtown LA school. The chief John Suits shoots from the characters' perspectives, having the feelings this may have been a montage of a Capcom film. The film, while apparently ignorant of the Spanish thriller, its three continuation and a US revamp, isolate or as now in 19 defined as a quarantine. Presently, there are no specific medicines and vaccines available for the COVID-19 in the world. Many scientists of different countries vaccine against COVID-19. The correlation of SF Hollywood films with the present reality pandemic COVID-19. The present situation pandemic COVID-19 are compared and somewhat situations are same shown film Pandemic. I am thankful to my research guide Dr. B.A. Navlesar, Head Department of English, Devgiri College, Aurangabad. Thank you.
The title of my paper is Black Panther Afrofuturism Through Technoculture and Science Fiction. As the Black Panther, he is inspiring everyone, but especially black youth who deserve to see superheroes like them to show them that truly anyone can be a superhero. Wrote Scene TD comments about Boseman's role as the film's titular character, who is also known as Chala. This matters because it has been long time coming to see our own superheroes and the power that they can have in all of us in society. Black Panther's billion-dollar global success had made it a phenomenon, and Chadwick's role signals a black renaissance. Indeed, Black Panther is also heralding another later renaissance, a new wave of interest in Afrofuturism, a literary and musical movement that explores black identity, culture, and struggles through the lens of science fictions. From the blockbuster movie Avenger Infinity War, which promises another dose of chala to live local events, Afrofuturism is everywhere. And its fans say the massive success of Panther is both catalyst and symbol of the moment. The Black Panther movie did a lot of heavy lifting for us, says author and editor Shiri Renee Thomas, who is organizing an Afrofuturism event in Memphis on Saturday. Now I don't have to do a lot of explaining when I am discussing Afrofuturism. I can just say Wakanda and people pretty much get it. Afrofuturism frequently portrays a future in which black people use technology to become leaders of their world's message that is depressingly absent from most mainstream science fiction. Other works are more dystopian, using science fiction tropes to explore difficulties facing minority groups in the present day. It's a decision that, spoiler alert, Boseman's Black Panther eventually choose to reverse the move turns Wakanda from an obscure backwater into a global superpower overnight. And with Infinity War promising to bring an existential threat to humankind's doorstep. Wakanda and the Black Panther are set to play pivotal roles in that struggle for survival too, potentially elevating their status and alternates the Marvel universe to global saviors. Thomas says the term Afrofuturism is credited to author Mark Derry, whose 1993 essay Black to the Future gave a name to ideas long drawn upon by artists from Sun Ra and George Clinton to novelists like Octavia Butler. It's also been a major influence and more modern musician, notably Janelle Monáe, whose albums and art Android and the Electric Lady touches upon themes such as freedom, love, self-identity through science fiction. But even if the ideas behind Afrofuturism have been around for decades, Black Panther promises to give them new life across mediums. That's in part because it's already introducing the concept to new massive audiences. This is a movie that made nearly 300 million pound in its first week alone. After all, and if people who enjoy Black Panther go on to explore other forms of Afrofuturism, they'll find a wealth of book, comic, graphic novels, and music to enjoy, as Thomas points out. The main two back writers who come to mind when you think of black science fiction are Samuel Chip Delany and the late Octavia Butler. Thomas says, and there are writers like Nady Octofor. Not only is she writing for Marvel and continuing the story of the Dora Milaje in the comic book, but one of her works, Who Fears Death, is being developed into a series by George R. Martin. So it's a lot of great things happening now, and having a blockbuster movie be the face of it does not hurt at all. Scientific racism, sometimes termed biological racism, is the pseudo scientific belief that empirical evidence exists support to justify racism, racial inferiority, and racial superiority. The term scientific racism is generally used pejoratively when applied to move modern theories, such as those in the bell curve in 1994. Richard Bradley. Richard Bradley was a naturalist. In his book Philosophical Account of the Works of Nature, he claimed there to be five sorts of men based on their skin color and other physical characters. White Europeans with beards, white men in America without beards, meaning Native Americans, men with copper color skin, small eyes, and straight black hair, and the black with curly hair. It has been speculated his account inspired Linnaeus' later categorization. Lord Kames. The Scottish lawyer Henry Home, Lord Kames, was a polygynist. He believed God had created different races on earth in separate regions. In his 1734 book Sketches on the History of Man, Home claimed that the environment, climate, or state of society could not account for racial differences, so that races must have come from distinct separate stocks. After Obama era, perhaps none of this should feel groundbreaking, but it does. In the midst of regressive cultural and political movement, fueled in part by the white nativist movement, the very existence of Black Panther feels like resistance. Its themes challenge institutional bias, its characters take unsubtle digs at oppressors, and its narrative includes prismative perspectives on black life and tradition. The fact that Black Panther is excellent only helps. Black Panther was born in the civil rights era and he reflected the politics of that time. The month after Carmichael's Black Power declaration, the character debuted a Marvel Comics Fantastic Four number 52. Supernatural strength and agility were his main features, but a genius intellect was his best attribute. Black Panther was not alter ego. It was the formal title for T'Challa, King of Wakanda, a fictional African nation that, thanks to exclusive hold on the sound absorbent metal vibranium, had become the most technologically advanced nation in the world. Black Panther is about more than a superhero journey, it's about black culture's journey. It points toward the future where it could be the culture. It acknowledges and celebrates everything from traditional African society to African American political debates, from the power and beauty of black women to the preservation of identity, all within the lush confines the fictional African nation of Wakanda. Black Panther is in my ways to love letter to black culture. Africa has traditionally been an unsophisticated bit player in American media, often portrayed as backward, savage, and chaotic in everything from news coverage to films. It's a portrayal that has left little room for other interpretation, which is why Black Panther vision of Wakanda as a bustling metropolis of vibrating, powered, futuristic skyscrapers, racial trains, and social spaceships feels so refreshing. Marvel movies often take place in ground, imaginative locales like Thor's Asgard or Guardians of the Galaxy's far-flung planets. But nothing has been quite as audacious and poignant and as Wakanda, a vision of Africa that feels indebted to both Jack Kirby and Octavia Butler, home to thriving black population that represents our collective ingenuity and beauty. As a testament to black empowerment, Black Panther is an important artifact, but it's also quite simply a big draw for black moviegoers starved for this sort of visions. This film has also jumped into the current black political thought and action, prompting challenging think pieces about how Chala and Killmonger's rift is representative of familiar ideological debates in the black community, and what the film's politicals represents about the state of black America. In addition to escapism and inspiration, Black Panther offers African Americans the opportunity to re examine and reimagine the place in the world, both literally and figuratively. Wakanda has emerged as a vision of what's possible, representing what's true liberation could look like. But the power of that fantasy is directly linked to the harsh realities of Eric Killmonger's experience growing up Oakland, California, far away from the utopic vision. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sayaja from the Department of English, Stella Maris College.
And I'm Arpita, also from the Department of English, Stella Maris College.
We'll be presenting a paper on Black Panther, Afrofuturism, and the politics of the Anthropocene. We're looking at the movie Black Panther, which garnered widespread commercial success and critical accolades. In our paper, we will be looking at some of its ideological shortcomings in the narrative, including the problematic politics about ecology and the Black identity. This paper will look at the movie's exploration of the politics of the Anthropocene and its deployment of an Afrofuturistic aesthetic. So the era of the Anthropocene is marked by an expansion of human population, propelled by the Industrial Revolution and the excessive consumption of natural resources, especially due to the advancement in technology and medicine, which leads to unprecedented access to natural resources and therefore excessive consumption. This has led to increased greenhouse gases, increased environmental problems, leading to anthropogenic factors causing climate change. Now, in the Anthropocene, we can't disregard the capitalist domination of the global south by imperial and neo-colonial powers, and therefore looking at the politics of the Anthropocene rather than seeing the environment and environmental protection as a universally equal concept.
So, Afrofuturism is an aesthetic strategy that aims to liberate Black bodies from historical and contemporary forces of racism, white supremacy, violence, and discrimination. Artists explore the themes and concerns of Africans and the African diaspora in the context of a contemporary technoculture through music, art, literature, and films. They aim to redefine the Black identity and Black culture in contemporaneous as well as futuristic terms by envisioning a alternative of futuristic world free from Eurocentric and white supremacist bias and violence.
In our paper, we'll be looking at two aspects. One is Afrofuturism and the socio-political context of Wakanda, which is the fictional nation situated in the movie of Black Panther, as well as resource consumption and eco-sensitivity. So when it comes to the socio-political context of Wakanda, as well as Black Panther as a movie, we can see a vast amount of representation. This is included in the cast, where you see a wide array of people from Africa as well as the African diaspora. You can see that the actors were from UK, Britain, but also Kenyan, Mexican, American, Zimbabwean, Guyanese, British, and so on. Representation and diversity is also seen in a diversity of Black bodies, visual and material cultures, and this was predominantly portrayed through representation of various tribal communities across Africa, and this is seen in body ornamentation, clothing, hairstyle, and jewelry, and so on. One other very specific form of representation was the creation of a Pan-African aesthetic, which was most portrayed in this one specific scene in South Korea, where Nakia, Okoye, and T'Challa wear the three colors of the Pan-African flag. The politics of Wakanda. Basically, Wakanda was never colonized and it was free from the threat of neo-colonial exploitation. And in order to safeguard Wakanda, the various rulers of the nation had an isolationist policy, sort of cutting it off from the other nations around it. But the nations around Wakanda were the various resource-rich African countries, which for which there was a Western neoliberal attempt to control the resources, and this led to a lot of violent uprisings and military coups. Homegrown resistance movements were both peaceful as well as armed resistance, and there was a necessity to fight against both the Western neoliberal attempt to control them. Post-colonial African nations also experienced a form of violence, which Rob Nixon says occurs gradually and out of sight, a violence of delayed destruction that is dispersed across time and space, and attritional violence that is typically viewed as not violence at all. So we can see that Wakanda, a sort of utopic community, is situated amongst all of this tension, rightful tension. Wakanda has an isolationist policy, but it is also a symbolic homeland to the diasporic community. Its isolationist policy makes it inaccessible, and so though people like Njadaka, who is later called Killmonger, though he sees Wakanda as a homeland, also builds a certain amount of rage against it. Killmonger is the heart of the philosophical and political question in the film, but also in the real struggle and experience of Black people in America. Eric Stevens carries the burden of the transatlantic slave trade, slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, and the social movements for freedom. Upon the death of his father, Prince Njobu, at the hands of T'Chaka, Black Panther, his heart is filled with rage and a yearning to discover his ancestry. So, in Njadaka's words, what he very poignantly says, bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from the ships because they knew death was better than bondage. Njadaka therefore goes back to the history of slavery in America and very specifically to what was the Igbo landing. Now, this is placed in stark contrast to T'Challa's isolationist policy of Wakanda, where he's trying to, protect the resource of vibranium, but also protect the nation of Wakanda, and therefore sort of turns a blind eye to the rest of the struggles of the African diaspora. Now, towards the end of the movie, he attempts an outreach and technology transfer, and yet this sort of nowhere comes near in Njadaka's perspective of reaching out to the rest of the diaspora. This is very clearly seen in the museum scene. The museum is an institution which recognizes the realities of the Anthropocene or the realities of the politics of the Anthropocene because it is a Western institution of cultural hegemony. Colonial and neo-colonial forces attempt to monopolize the resources of the world, leaving a large section of the world's population without access to these resources. And in fact, take resources away from large parts of the world and therefore, which are considered rightfully theirs, which Njadaka points out. So his attempt is to reclaim and redistribute these resources that are monopolized in the hands of a powerful few. He sees T'Challa and he equates T'Challa with the West in the control of resources. And what Njadaka would rather have is to arm oppressed people all over the world. Wakanda is an Afrofuturistic utopia. It is a world without strife in a generic sense, but also in a more generalized notion. Ernst Bloch says a utopia is one where an individual is able to thrive without alienation and exploitation. So this is something that sort of Njadaka hopes for in Wakanda. And as Dipesh Chakrabarty says, the Anthropocene might lead to the flattening of human differences and the forced imposition of top-down solutions upon society. T'Challa's UN speech in the end of the movie is still a top-down solution, as opposed to Njadaka's, which might be a violent response, is one which aims to increase resource distribution amongst the oppressed.
So Wakanda is portrayed as having seemingly infinite quantities of this fictional resource called vibranium, which powers its advancements in the field of medicine, technology, and weaponry. Though the movie is relatively silent about the issue of resource depletion, it does offer an alternative to the exploitative Western capitalist model. Wakanda's fantastical vibranium based economy is punctuated by a sense of responsibility towards the earth that regulates its extraction, production, and dissemination. The eco-conscious ethos of Wakanda is clearly visible through its folk and material culture. The costumes, masks, wall art, and other images show strong concern for the natural world and ecological harmony. The combination of a mystical tradition that respects the ecocentric ways of the Wakandan ancestors and technological innovations influenced by the environment and the natural landscape serve as a statement against cultural and ecological domination. The politics, despite human domination in the Anthropocene, the human population is not and never has been a monolithic political class. There is an enormous gulf between the elite and the disenfranchised when it comes to access to resources and geopolitical agency. Any environmental policy that disregards this jeopardizes the global South's quest for justice. A bulk of the tension in the film is due to how the movie's central characters differ with regards to addressing this very disparity between the elite and the disenfranchised. Njadaka counters T'Challa's passive isolationism with a violent militaristic revolution. Yet at the end, it is Nakia's pragmatic humanitarian interventionist approach that seemingly wins out. Black Panther portrays the complexity of the politics of the Anthropocene, especially that of resource consumption, although it fails to effectively address the issue of this resource depletion. It provides a novel aesthetic that is guided by an Afrofuturistic and ecocentric ethos. In conclusion, Black Panther brings to the forefront the non-universality of agency and the concerns of the historically disenfranchised and marginalized groups in the Anthropocene. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste, I'm Sarita Ramanjanelu, Assistant Professor from Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Bangalore City University, Bangalore. I'm a film academician and a screenwriter as well. I have worked for an art film as an associate screenwriter called Akarala Ratri. I'm chairing the segment Visual Science Fiction Movies of the 19th Annual 5th International Science Fiction Conference. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be associated with this esteemed organization and look through the scholarly work of participants across the world, be it film academicians or film researchers or film enthusiasts or research scholars. It's been indeed pleasure to look through your work. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for such a diverse and very intriguing and very intensive, in-depth analysis of subjects, whatever you have chosen. Now let's look at the first participation. It's from Inaya Chinnaswamy. Her theme is Afrofuturism through Technoculture and Science Fiction, analyzing the film Black Panther. Her analysis of how portrayal of humanity through science fiction can be extremely powerful medium and awaken the world to the strong culture and identity of the African people has been very intriguing. For a very long time, media has harnessed the power of mass opinion creation and been nurturing the cultural and racial biases and prejudices that has portrayed the African culture and race to be lesser or barbaric. Through science fiction film, some of these biases can be blurred, if not erased. It also encompasses the capability to blur the narratives created by few media outlets to widen the divides and discriminative attitudes of people regarding race, skin, or color. Inya's work on how a superhero from a particular social setup can become the voice of that community, and science fiction being a genre that is highly open to a world of fiction and fantasy, helps to create alternative perspectives. An intriguing analysis of how the film has brought forward Afrofuturism through the lens and stood out to create a massive impact in lines of the ability of science fiction to create a balanced society is pretty good here. And I congratulate you for such a detailed analysis of your subject. Next, we move to Sami Ahmed Khan's work. His theme is man and mythology in Bollywood science fiction films. The possible contact between humans and aliens has always fascinated the human mind and even the filmmakers in equal measures. A lot of science fiction films have explored the theme of an alien invasion or a contact with the extraterrestrial, be it Steven Spielberg's Extraterrestrial or Koi Mil Gaya of our own Bollywood. The films have been fueling the imagination of human mind with the idea of alien invasions, aliens befriending humans, they bringing us gains. The themes have been quite vast and it has helped a large group of population to understand the existence or a possible existence of an extraterrestrial world or a society. The author has analyzed a particular film, Joker, and its intricacies and intertwined connections of mythology and science fiction. The representation of alien world in most of the films analyzed is indeed quite fascinating. And also, the author of this particular work has also very critically analyzed the relationship between mythology and science fiction in Bollywood cinema. The analysis of Joker is been intriguing. Next work is by Mitkari Shwetanjali B. And her theme is pandemic. The representation of a disaster or a pandemic or a impending crisis over humanity has been very well represented by both the Hollywood and Bollywood films. And according to me, this would be a very useful and a very powerful narrative of a science fiction film genre. A work of science fiction film indeed turned into reality. 2009 film Pandemic is today's situation of COVID-19 with the whole population stuck in an enigma, researchers battling with the cause and cure. Science fiction films of like such as Pandemic or Virus can put people in the real life scenarios and create an existential awareness to the threats facing humanity. Considering the film Pandemic, such narratives of science fiction or subgenre of science fiction or medical fiction can really help people gain awareness in a situation or a future impending disaster and understand it from a very micro perspective. Next submission is from Gayatri G and Vaishali B. Their theme is films exploring the concept of immortality in science fiction through a regional Tamil film, Mayavan. Immortality has been a very long lasting desire of humanity. Everybody would want to live and possibly never face or even live with the fear of death. This particular film also has been exploring this particular theme. The narrative has a very futuristic setup, and the author has brought out the subgenre of science fiction and psychology pretty well, and they have very elaborately and elegantly explained the narrative of Mayavan and how psychological fiction in psychology and science fiction can be integrated to create such narratives and expose a human mind to a broader concept. Our next submission is from Sheetal Balian. Issues of identity in Star Trek vis-a-vis nation and nationalism. The idea of identity, nationalism, living in harmony have been the idea of identity, nationalism, living in harmony have been made abstract notions with the advancement of technology, wherein countries and communities are finding newer ways to widening the existing divides. Her analysis of the whole plot and narrative of Star Trek and linking it to the contemporary situation that's plaguing the nations is quite commendable. If we look at the timeline when this series was created, the world was torn apart in wars, embroiled in conflicts, and if we look at the timeline when this particular series was created and aired, the world was torn apart in wars, embroiled in conflicts, and a race to stay ahead of each other. And the plot had quite a contradictory narrative, wherein it advocated about the unification of human race regardless of the differences, which Miss Balian has brought out pretty well. She also has she also has done a critical analysis of science fiction narrative of Star Trek being far ahead of time and potential to rekindle the human spirit that could lead to a possible sense of nationalism and unity is quite noteworthy. Our next entry is from Sheetal Balian. Issue of identity in Star Trek vis-a-vis nation and nationalism. The idea of identity, nationalism, living in harmony have been made abstract notions with advancement of technology, wherein countries and communities are finding newer ways to widen the existing divide. Her analysis of the whole plot and narrative of Star Trek and linking it to the contemporary situation that's plaguing the nations. If we look at the timeline when this series was created, the world was torn apart in wars, embroiled in conflicts, and a race to stay ahead of each other. And plot had quite a contradictory narrative where it advocates about the unification of human race regardless of the differences. Ms. Balian's analysis of scientific narrative Star Trek being far ahead of its time and potential to rekindle the human spirit that could lead to be a possible sense of nationalism and unity is quite noteworthy. Our next participation is from Shri Devi. Her theme is women depiction in P. Padmaraj's film Meera in November Ante Nashtam and Maya in Innale. Our next participation is from Shri Devi. Her theme is women depiction in P. Padmaraj's film Meera in November Ante Nashtam and Maya in Innale. I really like your choice of theme and film here on analysis of female protagonists and the power of film to bring out the genre of science fiction in relation to mental illnesses, considering our society and its existing awarenesses on mental illnesses. The medium of film can really well portray the inner world of emotional and mental health. Her analysis of November Ante Nashtam and Maya and the filmmaking styles and how the director has portrayed the protagonists and the dark scientific or the science fiction world of the human mind is also quite intriguing. I was looking forward to have a clearer picture of how science fiction can depict mental health in a much more responsible way in our contemporary society. Overall, your work is pretty well good. I was just look I was looking forward to how science fiction as a genre can be used effectively to creative narratives around mental health, considering the contemporary society. The whole topic has been explored in quite in detail. Congrats to all the participants.